Hey everybody, how are you? This is Mr. Morrow, of course. How is everything going? Hopefully your day is going good. Today we got something very, very interesting. Module 77 gets into prejudice and discrimination. Of course, prejudice is the negative attitude and discrimination is the behavior. Both unjustifiable and yes, usually negative. Interesting chart here I pulled right out of the book. Kind of speaks for itself. It's a chart for support for interracial dating, and you see how generations, as they age, they get way more accepting of interracial dating. I was born in 1971, and so my generation, way at that purple line up at the top, yeah, almost 100% support for interracial dating in my generation. Not a big deal, but previous generations, it was something to be concerned about. Prejudice and Discrimination, cool, real cool movies to recommend for you at this time. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is a really throwback film from the 1960s. A young upper crust white woman is engaged to be married, and she brings her fiance home to meet her somewhat stodgy parents. Sidney Poitier, yeah, very interesting African American actor that broke a lot of boundaries back in Hollywood in the 1960s. And again, I can't recommend it highly enough. Great classic film. Equally so, some of you are aware of Get Out, more modern day film that details the same type of issue from a different perspective. Again, great films definitely to check out. Who are the individuals and groups today that face prejudice and discrimination? I'm going to have you do a little bit of research, a little bit of digging into our modern times and this coronavirus and how that's affecting minorities, people of color. Why exactly is that happening? There's some interesting things going on in that regard. So I'll direct your research to a couple headlines in a little bit. The book outlines some interesting ideas about the social roots, the emotional roots, and the cognitive roots of prejudice. The just world phenomenon is a social root. You know, we're all, I think, raised by our parents to believe that if you do good things, well, then good things will happen to you, that somehow good attracts good and bad attracts bad. From there, it's not too much of a leap to making the social justification that, well, okay, if bad things happen to bad people, well, then, quote unquote, those people over there must be bad people because they have bad things happening to them. That whole blame the victim rationality is an interesting thing to explore. Very much like in group and out group bias, us versus them. Again, it's a social root of prejudice to think that we're part of this group and they're part of that group. Equally so, the emotional roots of prejudice, that scapegoat theory is something you are familiar with. You did a research in this case study last week on the Glenbrook North hazing incident where those senior girls were very emotional that it happened to them when they were juniors. And so now they're going to scapegoat the new uprising junior class. And if they weren't caught, well, then I guarantee almost that those junior girls would have done the exact same thing to the following year's group of juniors. So those emotional roots are very strong out there in our society. And the cognitive roots of prejudice, there's a number of things going on. The human mind has evolved to have categories of the world. It's helped us make sense of our world. Remember the availability heuristic, how we there's make these shortcuts in our thinking and our judgments and how we rationalize those things in our brain. Hindsight bias, remember that, please, how we kind of rationalize the existence of things that have already happened. And then just that common wisdom that, hey, this is just the system and this is how things have been and always will be. Well, that could get challenged, that could get updated, that could evolve, that could change. So, yeah, be an agent of change for a socially just world and not just say, well, that's the way it's always been. Very interesting things from all three roots: social roots, emotional roots, and cognitive roots of prejudice. And then also, don't forget about some of these previous studies that we've done in other units to help you understand prejudice and discrimination. There's B.F. Skinner's concepts of conditioning and framing, the powerful B.F. Skinner with the great head of hair. Jean Piaget's theory of schema and how that's the young child learns to build his world. And again, a lot of that is societies making the child think a certain way. And then also remember the dual processing power of the mind, going all the way back to Unit 3, that we have things happening in our brains at a very subconscious level. A couple quick book recommendation. Malcolm Gladwell's Blink is an awesome book to check out. Equally so, do a quick Google search of the Harvard University Project Implicit Test and their race exam. Really interesting stuff going on there. Check it out, have fun, and enjoy your day.